So, all right. Well, it's time now to introduce the
Stanley's
speaker.
smiling.
Yeah.
He's smiling.
Well, we're very blessed to have Stanley here
Yes, we are.
today. And I remember the first time I saw him coming into chapel, and I always felt like I connected to him.
Yes, yeah.
So he's just lovely, lovely, lovely
He's
person.
a people person.
He is. So Stanley Edward Maszczak is a multi-passionate speaker, facilitator, writer, and transpersonal coach, whose core gift is helping others bring their true expression into the world. His work has been greatly impacted by his own journey of bringing more of his full self into the world, coming out as gay and gender nonconforming after having navigated fundamentalist religion from a young age, and later serving in the military under Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy. He is passionate about creating more inclusive space in the world for each of us to accept and actively include all the parts of ourselves, which is needed, that's for sure.
Yes.
As we also create inclusive spaces for others in our relationships, community, and society. Stanley joined the chapel here in 2019 and has served on the board, currently serves as a chapel newsletter editor, and he's going to move on from that. I'm sure he's going to be the minister too here.
Yeah.
So please join me in welcoming Stanley to the podium.
Yay.
Good morning. Good morning. Good to see you all here. Everybody in the chapel, everybody on Zoom. Big welcome to everybody, wherever you are. This week, there are a few themes happening energetically in the world. Those themes have to do with faith and spirit and holding the emotional and energetic state of the vision we're creating. I get this from a couple of places, but it's also from human design. Tomorrow morning, the sun starts highlighting the gate 55 in human design. So that's where some of those come from. But I want us to kind of think about that just for a second as I go into the story I'm going to tell you in a bit and some of the things that tie together. So think about how faith and connecting with spirit and holding the emotional and energetic state of the vision we're creating, how that could positively impact our lives, how we can work with and leverage that kind of current of energy we have this week. In the meditation today, Reverend Sharon talked about us all vibrating. We know that there's a law of vibration in universal law, which says that everything vibrates, everything is in motion. And when we think about that, we understand that we are holding vibrations. There might be different vibrations from moment to moment, day to day, but the frequencies we inhabit as people who hold a frequency and a vibration influence what we see and what we experience around us. It influences how we experience the people and the things that happen in our day. We see things that have similar vibrational resonances with us usually. And we hear that too. There's another example of that, our reticular activating system in our brain. Our brain is processing so many pieces of information or experiencing so many pieces of information at one time that this reticular activating system comes into play and helps us narrow that down and see the things that are only relevant to us. It's like the example of that in play is, when you go and if you buy a car, you think you bought this really unique car, and then as soon as you buy it and you drive onto the freeway, now you're just surrounded by this car you thought you'd never seen on the highway before, but because it's in your field now, you're vibrating along those lines. Now that's all you see around you. And of course, nowadays that can be it's got a little bit more help with the algorithms, right? I feel like Siri and Google and everybody's listening to us, so they really work hard to show us the things we're talking about and seeing in our world today, right? So lots of different ways that gets amplified. And when we think about too, when I'm coaching or teaching people kind of about how we learn and how we create change in our lives, there's the paradigm around that too, is that we have our thoughts that we think, and our thoughts then kind of create our emotions, because how I'm thinking influences how I feel, and that creates chemical reactions inside of our bodies. And those emotions that I create as a result of my thoughts then fuel the actions that I take. And then those actions that I take give me some kind of result, and that result is evidence around me. And when I see that evidence then influences my thoughts. And so then my thoughts again, influence my emotions, and we go kind of round and round this circle. So if we can get into that space of understanding how we're thinking about things and influencing how we're feeling about things, we can then start to influence the world around us and how we're experiencing it as well. In human design, it's a very similar kind of cycle that we talk about, because we have things, ideas that come in through our head center and filter through our ajna, through our thoughts. So we have our ideas and our thoughts that come in, and then we feel, they create those feelings in us, and those feelings get filtered up to our heart center. And our heart center is also filled with all the things that we feel about ourselves. So if I have good self-worth, if I have a positive self-image, if I feel confident in myself and know who I am, then those feelings that I have are also infused with that. And in human design, the heart is said to be the center of the magnetic monopole. So that thing that's attracting the things into our lives. It's part of where the law of attraction comes from as well. So if I have my thoughts and ideas that come in, and it filters through my emotions, which then calibrates my heart, and I have a positive self-image, I have this ability to attract in really powerfully the things that I desire and the things that I want to create in this lifetime. But if I have those ideas that come in and they filter in and they're negative thoughts or unsupportive or not helpful for me in the life I'm trying to create, and that creates negative emotions in me, and I have a negative self-image, and I'm not really confident, and I don't feel good about myself, and that's also going to calibrate that magnetic monopole and create that experience, more of those experiences that are coming in toward us. And of course, we know there's lots of external factors too, right? We don't exist in a vacuum on our own, where there's all kinds of things happening around us in society and based on how we grew up and how we've been influenced and conditioned throughout our lives. But this is kind of the basic flow of the energy that's happening around us. When we think about that kind of vibrational essence that we're giving off and allowing that to kind of influence what we're seeing around us, there's also this idea, along with the law of vibration, that's called the law of polarity. And the law of polarity says that everything is dual. Everything is basically opposites. Everything has its poles, has its pair of opposites. That opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. One of the teachers that I follow likes to say that the thing and its opposite are the same thing. In that if I have a desire, meaning that I don't have something right now, but I'm desiring it, that the opposite of it would be the manifestation of that desire, then that thing is also there because of that law of polarity, right? So I have this desire because I feel like I want something different. So it's got to be there. If I have the desire, it's there in my field somewhere. It's a matter of shifting my perspective and shifting my vibration to see what's already there. Because if I'm not seeing it, that means I need to change something that I'm doing or change something that I'm experiencing. And I have a little story about this from this last week. So, well, we'll get to that in a second, but I'm a person who sometimes, I don't know if you can relate to this, but I sometimes forget things. Anybody ever forget things? Like, especially when I'm leaving my house, leaving the apartment, as many times as I stop by the front door and make sure I have everything I need. Let's say I'm going to go walk Harry, our Great Dane, who's rustling around behind me if you hear him. But my very large dog requires some things when he goes on his walks. I've got to get it. If it's cold out, it's 27 degrees in DC this morning. If it's cold out, I got to put his coat on because they have very low body fat. These huge Great Danes, so you got to make sure they stay warm. I got to put his coat on. I got to put his harness on. I got to grab his leash. I got to grab his slobber rag because the Great Danes, they like to slobber a lot. You got to be able to wipe it up if you need to. If you want us to go lick somebody, and then you got to take care of all that. So I try to be a good dog walker and have that ready to go if I need it. Got to grab the little baggies to clean up the Great Dane sized messes he's going to create while we're outside. So I got to have all that stuff, right? Got to grab the keys. But invariably, I'll stand by the door. I will go through what I think is my list and think I have everything and leave. And sometimes I forget something. Sometimes it's like the keys to the apartment, which is not great. That makes it a little bit harder to get back inside. But on more than one occasion, unfortunately, that thing that I forgot has been the baggies. The little baggies I need to clean up after Big Harry. And a couple of times it's happened when I've been a mile away from home that I've realized once I need the bag that I don't have it. So I've had to say, all right, well, I got to clean this up. So I run with Harry as quickly as we can to try to get home. So then I can get him in the apartment, grab the bags, run downstairs, get in the car, and drive the mile back to where we left the mess so that I can clean it up, because nobody wants to accidentally step in, Great Dane size mess, right? So I do that. I've done that twice. It's frustrating on a number of levels, both times I've done it. It happened a third time this past week. And this week we were walking in and it happened. I realized I stuck my hand in my pocket. There were no bags there. It's like I stood by that door for like 3 minutes making sure I had stuff, and I still forgot those bags. But this time I stopped. And I said, because I've been reading some different things about these laws and different perspectives on them this past week. So I said, you know what? I have this need right now for something to clean up this mess with that I don't have on me. I really do not want to go the mile back and do the mile back thing. I said, what if I had just trained my mind so much before to just think that there's nothing around me to help? What if there's actually something around me to help? So I looked around. I said, maybe there's a baggie or something I can find on the ground. It's DC in the city. There's always stuff around, right? I didn't see anything. So I was like, but there's got to be. And I'm not kidding. 6 feet away from me was not just something to clean up with, but it was an actual dog mess bag, randomly on the unopened, new, untouched. Somebody had just dropped it out of their pocket right there within exactly where I needed it to be. Now we walk a long way. We walk many, many blocks. We walk a couple of miles at a time sometimes. So what are the odds that that would be exactly where I needed it, exactly when I needed it, not blown away, not picked up, but exactly where I needed it? And for me, that was a little nudge from the universe saying, yes, this stuff is true. And this stuff can be supportive for you. And we can come in, the universe can come in and support us in ways big and small. So it was just one of those encouraging things to me this week that if I can just, instead of doing what I always do, saying, well, I guess I got to run home, drive back, do all this extra hullabaloo to get this done. What if I just paused when I'm in one of those moments of, there's something that I would like to be different right now, and say, what do I have right around me that's ready to meet me and ready to support me in this moment? So there's this new attention, new awareness that I have to bring into my daily life now. One other thing I'll share with you on that is I've been reading some Neville Goddard recently. And in his book, Seed Time and Harvest, he talks about the 4 mighty ones. And he kind of likens these 4 mighty ones to the people that we call on when we are ready to create something in our lives. And something that I like about Neville that I appreciate about him emphasizing more than other teachers of universal law and manifestation is that he really focuses on what we talked about at the beginning of this talk, of that holding the emotional, energetic state of the vision we're creating. Because people talk a lot about vision boards and manifesting this and, writing it out and just thinking about it and visualizing it, which is all wonderful. But this focuses on holding the emotional, energetic state of the vision we're creating. And he says there's 4 mighty ones, 4 people that we call on to do this. So we're pretending that this is as if you were putting on a play or production. He says you've got the 4 main people: the producer, the author, the director, and the actor. So you theater folks will appreciate this kind of analogy. So you have the producer who comes in and suggests the theme. So the producer suggests the theme. What is it that I want to be different? What is it that I want to have a new experience about? Is it a new career, new job, new relationship, finances? Is it a new spiritual connection? Whatever it might be, what is the theme or the desire that I have? And then that's the producer's job. They just introduce the theme. The author then is the one who comes in and dramatizes it. So they write the script. So at that point, you have your theme. So how are you going to dramatize? Imagine you had to create an entire movie script about this whole theme playing out and coming to manifestation, coming into purview in your life. But he said, don't write the whole script. You just want to write the very last scene. Because what you want to write is not the process and getting there and all the bits and pieces you have to figure out to make it happen. That's not what you want to write. You want to focus on the very last scene and focus on a scene that implies that it's already done. So after the thing has happened, after you've had that thing, what will you then be experiencing as a result, implying that that wish has already been fulfilled? So some kind of scene that would imply that. And the director's job, they come in then, and then they do the rehearsing. They make sure that the actor, which we'll talk about in a second, goes through that scene and rehearses it over and over and over again until it feels so natural. All the little details, just as you wrote them out, all that energetic state, that feeling, that emotion is what's important. Embodying that emotion. Because it's like we were talking about earlier. We have those ideas and thoughts that come in, and they kind of filter through our emotional solar plexus, and that helps calibrate our heart. But it's that emotional state that really helps us calibrate and draw that in and create the new experience, because that creates it on just that cellular level all over us. So the director comes in and rehearses it. And then it's the actor who does the rehearsing, and the actor is you in your imagination. So we are the actor, going through the motions in that first person place, allowing ourselves to get into that meditative state, which is very powerful to influence this. This meditative state, Neville calls it the state akin to sleep. So getting into that state and allowing ourselves to be in that scene that implies the desire is fulfilled, and embodying that emotionally, energetically, fully, and really feeling it, bringing our senses in, our sight, our hearing, our smell, taste, touch, just allowing that to be in fruition. Allowing ourselves to touch and shake hands with people and high five and hug all those people who'd be part of that celebratory process. So really creating that and anchoring that in to bring that into fruition. So what I've appreciated about the last couple of weeks is that all these kind of things have started to fall into place for me. It's fun to be able to look back and notice the themes that have dropped in consistently, these understanding the law of vibration, the law of polarity, and how they play together with how our thoughts influence our emotions and our actions, and it gives us evidence, and that again influences our thoughts. How we can then insert ourselves into any part of that process and make adjustments out of our own free will, out of our own connection to source and our own brilliance as divine human beings. How all of that helps calibrate our heart and connect us to who we are on soul level, connect us to our abundance, our levels of abundant, unconditional love for self, and allowing that to overflow and flow out into society around us. And then allowing ourselves to tap into our creative nature as human beings, and to really take the time to say, what is it that I want to create as this person who is connected to source, who is connected to my soul, my higher self, all of my expansive experiences. What is the kind of world that I want to create for myself, for my community, for people in society, for the world around me? How am I infusing my love and my gifts into the world? And then using my imagination to create those gifts, to create those scenes and let them play out, and to feel what that would feel like once it's already done, because that feeling of it already accomplished is what helps draw it in even more. And because when we can live from that state, not just in the time when we're meditating, but bringing that energy into our day-to-day lives and live from that state, that also calibrates it and helps us draw it forward and draw it in to create the exact thing that we're trying to create in the world. And if you watch the news or watch social media or anything like that, you know our world needs so much more love and alignment than we're experiencing on the bigger scale sometimes that we see in our day-to-day lives. So my encouragement to all of us today is to think in whatever area of life we want to think about, what is it that I want to bring into the world today? What is it that I want to bring into my life where I am at home with the people directly around me? How do I want to be love to them? How do I want to be creative, passion, and expression to them? How do I want to enjoy that for myself? Because I am designed to experience love, creativity, and joy and abundance all on my own too, and share that with the people around me. How do I want to interact with the people that I see at the store today? Do I want to be that beam of light and love just walking through this world? Do I want to smile at people and encourage them? Do I want people to look at me and feel uplifted as I'm walking through the world? How do I want to show up at work? How do I want to show up at the gas pump? How do I want to show up at chapel? What do I want to be here? And how can I tap into that collective love and creative expression that all of us in this room and on this Zoom today are committed to, because we're here and that's why we're here? How do I want to contribute my love and my brilliant light to what we're doing in this world today and amplify that out with ripple effects all around the world? So I'll leave that with you today.